The silence in the valley wasn't peaceful. It was a warning. In the year 1342, on the South Island of New Zealand, the sun hit the emerald ferns with a blinding glare. Young Tiki didn't care about the view. He was tracking a moa flightless bird twice, his height through the dense scrub. But as the giant bird froze, its neck twitching in terror, Tiki felt the air pressure change. Then came the sound. It wasn't a chirp or a cry. It was a sonic boom of feathers. A shadow the size of a small plane eclipsed the sun. Before Tiki could even gasp, 15 pounds of feathered fury slammed into the moa at 80 miles per hour. This wasn't a hunt. It was an execution. The Pouakai, the Haast's eagle, had arrived. Its talons thick. As a tiger's canines, and just as sharp, crashed into the moa's pelvis with the force of a falling anvil. Tiki dove under a limestone overhang, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. He watched, paralyzed, as the eagle unfurled wings that spanned nearly 10 feet. It looked less like a bird and more like a prehistoric nightmare draped in brown and gold. With one effortless heave of its massive chest muscles, the eagle pinned the struggling 500-pound moa to the earth. "The Sky Lord," Tiki whispered, his voice trembling. He had heard the elder stories, but seeing it was different. This wasn't just an animal. It was a missile with a heartbeat. And as the eagle turned its head, ET's piercing, predatory gaze locking onto the crevice where Tiki had realized the moa might not be the only thing on the menu today. The eagle didn't scream. It didn't need to. It simply began to drag its kill, eyes fixed on the boy, waiting for him to make one wrong move. Tiki didn't run until the eagle began its feast. He knew that if he moved while those golden eyes were locked on him, he was dead meat. He waited until the Sky Lord buried its beak into the moa. Then he bolted. He scrambled through the jagged rocks, his lungs burning, not stopping until the village fires were in sight. But the village wasn't the sanctuary it used to be. The elders were gathered around a map of the valley, their faces grim. The moa are disappearing. His grandfather, Rangi said, his voice like gravel. "The fires of our people have grown too large, and the big birds are thinning out. When the moa go, the Pouakai will get hungry, and a hungry god is a dangerous thing." That night, Tiki couldn't sleep. He kept picturing those salons 8 inches of bone-crushing steel. The host's eagle wasn't like a vulture that waited for death. It was the bringer of it. He realized that the balance of their world was tipping. For centuries, the moa fed the eagle, and the eagle stayed in the high peaks. Now, the peaks were coming to the valleys. Suddenly, a screech ripped through the midnight air, followed by the frantic bleating of the village dogs. Tiki rushed outside just in time to see a shadow swoop low over the thatched roofs. It didn't want a dog. It snatched a heavy storage crate filled with dried meat, lifting it as if it weighed nothing at all. The power was terrifying. The war for survival had officially moved to their doorstep. The rainy season hit with a vengeance. Thunder shook the southern Alps, and the sky turned the color of a bruised plum. For the Haast's eagle, this was the perfect hunting weather. The wind gave them extra lift, and the rain muffled the sound of their approach. Tiki's tribe was forced into the caves for shelter. They were trapped. "We can't just wait here for them to pick us off one by one," Tiki argued, gripping his spear. But the others were paralyzed by the legend. To them, the eagle was a spirit. To Tiki, it was just a predator, the ultimate alpha. Then, the unthinkable happened. A young girl, barely 5 years old, wandered toward the mouth of the cave to watch the rain. In a flash of brown feathers and a gust of wind that blew out the torches, she was gone. No scream, just a sudden vacuum of air. Tiki didn't think. He grabbed a torch and a jagged obsidian blade and sprinted into the storm. He tracked the massive bird by the trail of broken ferns. He found the eagle perched on a low-hanging branch, its wings spread wide to shield itself from the rain, looking down at the terrified child. It hadn't killed her yet. It was waiting for the wind to die down to carry her to the high nests. Tiki stood his ground, the fire of his torch reflecting in the eagle's cold, calculating eyes. This was the moment man versus the king of the skies. Tiki swung the torch, the flames hissing in the rain. The eagle hissed back a sound like tearing metal. It lunged, its talons swiping through the air, missing Tiki's chest by a fraction of an inch. He felt the wind of the wings. It was like being hit by a localized hurricane. With a desperate roar, Tiki thrust the torch toward the bird's sensitive eyes. The eagle recoiled, momentarily blinded. He grabbed the girl and shoved her into a narrow crevice in the cliffside. The bird recovered quickly, its rage vibrating through the trees. It didn't fly. It hopped across the ground with terrifying speed, its talons clicking against the stones. But the eagle was heavy. It was built for the strike, not a long-distance foot race. Tiki managed to lure it toward a steep drop-off. As the bird lunged for the killing blow, Tiki dove into the mud. The eagle, unable to check its massive momentum, tumbled over the edge, disappearing into the white mist of the canyon below. Tiki made it back to the village a hero, but the victory felt hollow. He looked up at the mountains and saw 3 more shadows circling. The moa were almost gone. The forest was quiet. The cycle was breaking, and he knew that the reign of the giants was coming to a bloody end. By the late 1400s, the silence in New Zealand was absolute. The great moetha fuel that powered the eagle's massive body had been hunted to extinction, and without the moa, the Haast's eagle became a ghost. Tiki, now an old man, sat by the shore and watched the empty sky. The missiles of the air were no more. One by one, the great birds had fallen from the sky, not from spears, but from hunger. The last one had been seen weeks ago, a ragged, starving shadow that couldn't even lift its own weight. They were our greatest enemies, Tiki told his grandsons, and our greatest teachers. They taught us that no matter how high you fly, you are only as strong as the earth that feeds you. The Haast's eagle vanished into the mists of history, leaving behind only the stories of the Pouakai and the massive bones buried in the swamps. They were the biggest predators to ever rule the clouds, a reminder of a time when man was under the top of the food chain, and the sky was a place of terror and majesty. The legends remained, but the shadows were gone forever.